Howdy everyone, Nimby here. Gonna be tying some Tom Thumbs today. It's a classic British Columbia dry fly. Really simple, super effective. And we're just starting off with our thread body. Get this upside down so you can read it. There we go. We're just gonna be using 6/0 or 8/0. 6/0. 6/0 uni thread in camel. Traditionally this would be tied with black thread, which does bleed through, but it imitates a traveling sedge, and they have a slightly darker belly to them. In this case I'm going to use the camel. It's going to match in a little bit better with the deer hair I have. The first ones we're going to be doing up are going to be from this absolutely gorgeous Primo deer hair strip that is dyed in, I think it's sedge olive? Sculpin olive. My bad. So I do want to use this for making some sculpins, but absolutely gorgeous deer hair. Hey Danny, hey Ryan. Hey anybody? We'll get some of that cut off. That is that one there. You can use any deer hair you have with these. It's not a fussy pattern. These will get chewed up relatively quickly since it's just soft deer hair. So, and the more chewed up they get, the better they work, ironically. You can go one of two ways when you're starting out. You can either stack your deer hair, which I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be making these a little more on the pretty side, but you can definitely have them down and dirty and just ugly. But I do like them looking pretty. Pulling out some of the under fur here. Not gonna get it all, just gonna get some so it'll stack a little cleaner. There you go. I was tempted to keep that. It's a real nice kind of olive buggy dub color, but I'll see. Maybe I'll keep some of it and do up some nymph body with it. There's not a lot in this actually. This is a really nice deer hair. It's the first time using this strip, so we'll see how it goes for these. Just an absolutely gorgeous strip of deer hair, so I don't have any doubts this will turn out well. If it does turn out not so well, the fish are going to destroy it anyway. So get that in our hair stacker. Apparently I do have some static going on here. Doesn't feel like a staticky day, but the hair's telling me otherwise. Yeah, the more they chew it, the more buggy it gets. Exactly. I'll do up a couple of these before I get more familiar with that patch of hair, but to me it's looking like it's gonna be a little on the flary side, which is originally why I bought the strip, was to do sculpin heads and flare it, so we'll see if it'll work for this. If not, then I'll grab another stack of, or a different strip of hair. It's got these beautiful, get my hand behind it, just really light, dark tips on it. Yeah, that's nice stuff. I'm just gonna pack it a little bit. And for our first set, we're just gonna go with doing up the body here. And that's gonna be a full body length. I'm actually gonna bring my thread loosely back up here. And 3 wraps to notch it off. So that's our tail length there. I'm just going to cut this over top of my waste basket because it's going to be a poofy mess. Let's get our measurement here. Waste basket's getting a little bit on the full side. Okay, so for our first tie-in for the tail, we're going to want to actually cut this hair basically in half with our thread. So we're going to turn our stack sideways, come in the middle, and then bring it down, and we're just going to do a light pinch wrap, and that's going to stop the whole thing from, oop, I can do it, there we go, it's going to stop the whole thing from flaring and spinning on the hook shank. And we're going to do 3 light wraps here. And I'm just going to slowly go back with medium wraps to the tail. If you're doing this with your traditional black, a little too tight on my last one there, I don't want the tail flaring. I'm going to do just a bunch of light wraps and then move back up and tie it in a little more on the way back. There we go. You want it to just sit kind of even on either side. And as you're going back, you can torque that back down. That'll stop it from spinning. Yeah, this batch is a little bit more thicker than I was expecting. I was expecting it to poof out a little bit more, so. The next one I'm gonna just thin out the tail a hair, probably 20% less or so. That tail's just a little bit proud. You can either bury this in or trim it up a bit like I'm doing. Either way is fine. I think the majority of people are just going to be burying it in, because it is one of those flies that just turns into a messy ball after you catch one or two fish on it. But it's also one of those flies that just looks absolutely fabulous when it's tied cleanly. Yeah, I'll thin out that tail a little bit next time. Probably have gone with half of that, maybe, not quite half. Alright, from this point you can go one of two directions. Again, if you're going more the pretty route, you can use some Fentex or some brown wool. This guy here's a really nice matching color. You can tie in, I don't think I'm going to do it for this one, but you can tie that in and just do a really quick body wrap with it. Traditionally, a lot of people will just leave it as is and just have the open thread wraps underneath, even if they're black. Just gonna bury a few more of these guys. Okay, we'll cut some more here. I'll go for just a little lighter than my tail was. You would want to make sure they're roughly about the same. But I want a little heavy on the tail, so. This patch is just so poofy, I was expecting it to kind of compress a little more, but it's not, which is great, which makes it really good for spinning. So I'm gonna have to give this a shot and spin some sculpin heads up with it. Most of the deer hair I have is winter harvest. This has almost, comparably, almost no underfur. So I'm assuming this was either early season or summer. Again, if having the thread show bothers you if you're using black, most people would just be using like a black uni 6 or 8/0. And if that's what you're using, that's fine. That's perfectly traditional. Most of the ones you're going to find in fly shops are going to be tied that way. I'm just using the camel because it matches in with this real nice. But if the black thread showing through bothers you, you can either throw in on a real quick dub body or just some wool, or you can use Fentex if you want to keep it light and floaty. This much deer hair though, it's not really gonna matter. It'll float like cork. Oop. Messed up that stack. Let's just fix that. Bucktail is so universal, especially if you like doing like small streamer patterns, but I mean, there's absolutely gobs of patterns you can make with just bucktail, especially if you got some nice white and brown going on for contrast. You can use a white for wings, the brown for the bodies. That's the part where you got to kind of learn your chunk of deer hair that you're working with. As far as how much you're going to need to add in for the tie-in point for bending it. So right now we got it lined up right with the end of our tail, and we want to have basically the shank length, which is what the tail's at, and then about half, because we got to go back, so the whole length through a tie-in point, and then we're going to add about half. We're going to add in about half a shank length, so we're going to move that up right to the middle of the body, pinch that in. That's going to be our tie-off point there. You can play around with that. That length is going to be a little bit more. Again, I'm just going to cut this down here so it's not going to just fly everywhere on me. Although I'm sure my tying bench is going to be filthy when I'm done. Try and keep the amount of deer hair I'm wearing to a minimum. There we go. Okay, so in this case we're going to do a little bit of the opposite of what we did in the last one. We're going to be tying it in down here. We're going to turn it sideways like we did before. Come in halfway. That'll just help you it to bite without sliding all the way over. And soft wrap over the whole thing. There we go. Try and get these to lay down. They're flaring a little bit more than I want them to. Walk that forward. We're going to be covering it up, so it don't matter terribly much, but this will give it a little bit better grip into the body so it doesn't get pulled out. I'm just going to go back over it with medium wrap, so I'm going to get real soft once I get to this last part. I don't want to flare it. Tying in a few of those loose ends. It's flaring a little bit more than I want it to there, so I'm going to be pulling it forward. So I just want to do about 3 light wraps right where I want that bend point to be, and then applying pressure on the way back, which will allow me to tie those butt ends into. There it be. She looks crazy and ugly, but that's the way she's supposed to. We'll grab these guys. Got a couple that got wrapped in the tail there. 1 second. Just fixing my bodkin. Oh, that's better. And if I didn't mention it, we moved our thread back up to the tying point there. Now, we're going to be tying this off kind of like a humpy. Want to have a nice butt hump there. And back rib. Yeah, that's totally 100% a technical term. just going to do 2 soft wraps, kind of pin it in. I'll probably do about 3 more, make a bit of a collar. This is where you can see if you had the wool body, that it would clean up the underside. But traditionally it looks a lot worse than this because the black thread will show right through, especially if you're using, you know, non-dyed deer hair. I'm taking my time a little bit because I just want to play with this hair and see if this is the right consistency for doing these guys. Overall, I'm happy with it. Now I'm just going to pull this up like a little mohawk, do a couple underneath, stand it up. And that's actually, besides this bottom pit of the tail here being a little bit on the bushy side, I would have actually liked to, like I said, have cut that out by about 20%. So pretend that bit there is gone. That's pretty well proportioned. Quite happy with that one. But these will get absolutely torn up. And for whatever reason, if it's just like a ball with some thread and like some spiky stuff sticking out, it just works so much better. But you can make them look really cool, you know, if you spend a little bit of time with your tying to get them purty. Yeah, there you go. That's your basic. This will be like an olive sculpin color. And then we're going to make a nice, decent sized head on it. Not only is the head going to represent the large head on the fly, but it's going to act as a thread down to push that hair back. There we go. Actually quite happy with that one. You can see how rough the body underneath looks. So to me, it's always been a bit of a turn off. But for whatever reason, the uglier the body is on the bottom, the better they work. But I do like to personally put a little bit of dubbing in there, a little bit of brown wool or something just to clean it up. It's absolutely not necessary and probably will not affect the amount of fish you get on it. That's like I was really just attracted to the dyeing color on this. It's a real nice, like brown olive. And it just imitates so many things that we have up in our water here. A very traditional British Columbia dry fly pattern. My whip finish. There we go. I have a number of different deer hair I'm gonna play with here to. Come on, buddy. I don't know why that one piece. Okay, there we go. You were fine for a minute there. And he's back. Yeah, but these are either, well, they imitate so many different things. Traveling sedge, caddis flies. When we get the big, large sedge hatches in June, July, a little later up north more than where I am, but they'll pop their heads out of the water and they'll lay their wings out to dry them once they emerge, and they'll even lay their wings along the back, which this back cap represents. And it can represent like anything from a water boatman to, you name it, anything that's buzzing along the surface. Now they're traditionally tied in size 8 to, you can probably get these right down to a 12, no problem. I generally find that 8 to 10s work the best. The bigger size not only floats a little better, but moves a little more water, and the fish are just gonna nail it. So one major benefit of dry fly fishing is the takes are hard and fun. Nothing more fun than watching your fly on the surface of the water and then just getting ploop. Thanks, mate. Yeah, I'm happy with the way that turned out. Like I said, I'm gonna thin the tail out on the next one. I wasn't quite sure how this patch here was gonna play out for me, and I like the brown thread. Definitely works really well with this. I will do one in standard black here so you can see the difference. Again, totally personal preference. And I know that the traditional, even though it's ugly, in my opinion, uglier, works really well. That's your standard Tom Thumb. The more traditional non-BC Tom Thumb, that's more common down the west coast, will have a chased body with peacock herl, which also looks a lot cleaner. Hey Yoshi, sorry mate, didn't see you pop in there. Trying to keep up on the chatter. Yeah, let's fix that. I thought for sure I had Ryan modded up here, but we'll get that fixed up. And we'll get Yoshi done up here too. There we go. I swear YouTube takes those off every once in a while. Beauty. I'm just going to spin him for a bit here till that head cement cures a little, and then we'll get him on the cork and get some more going. I appreciate the sentiment there, Yoshi. I just got a long way to go before I consider myself master. This is just enjoyable for me. And for kicks and giggles, I'm going to use the go with the black thread and no chased body on this one. Just so you guys can see the difference. To me, it's a striking difference. I really prefer to tie mine with a dark brown thread, or, well, depending on the color, you can tie these in all different colors, from bright fluorescent pink to red to black. Works really well. Traditional is just going to be your traditional white-tailed deer or mule deer body color. I'd say of all the colored ones, I'd say bright orange, red, and black seem to work the best if you're gonna do some crazy colors. Green's not bad either if you have like an olive green or chartreuse green in the springtime, like mid-spring when you're starting to get some terrestrials like grasshoppers and that coming out. Most of the things around here are going to be that kind of light chartreuse color until all of their carapaces start hardening up. This time of year when everything's mature, you're going to get that more muddled gray olive color on almost everything, including the dragonflies and dragonfly nymphs and everything. But when they first come out, they're going to be a lot lighter. Whether that makes any difference, who knows. Fairly important to have a decent thread base here. Some people will even put a layer of head cement or varnish on there and then let it set just so the deer hair doesn't spin as bad. If you're using GSP, is this GSP? What is this? No, this is standard, but if you're using like Techstream or do I have any GSP kicking around that's within reach? Anyway, you guys all know what GSP is. Gel spun thread. If you're using any GSP with this, you're gonna have to be really careful. Use a higher denier, like 70 plus. Not so much for the strength, but it'll cut through the deer hair. It makes it a lot harder to spin, or to not spin. It'll cut it like butter. So I like to use my standard uni thread for this stuff. Okay, we were gonna go with let's do one more with the same hair actually, and then I'll switch over to the standard whitetail. Thin that out a little bit more this time. As far as the amounts go, it's in my opinion, it's more of a feel thing than a measuring gauge, like what it feels like in your fingers. Especially if you're doing like a dozen of them or so, you get really used to being able to pull out the right amount. And you do have an actual thickness there, and a lot of people will term it as like pencil thickness or pipe cleaner thickness. But each batch of hair you're going to get off the deer, and from each place on the deer, is going to be really different for how it reacts. You're going to need a different amount. Like for what Ryan was saying there, for his bucktails, I mean, if you're getting that off of the tip, it's not really going to flare much at all. It's going to be almost like polar bear hair. So it's not going to flare, so you might need to get a little bit more. And if you're getting from more of the base of the side of the bucktail, it's going to flare more than it will at the tip and the base. So in that case, you might need a little bit less because it's going to puff out and look like there's more there. But yeah, every pelt's different, every deer is different, so you need to tie up a couple just to get familiar with your material. Yeah, this one's got some really nice, like almost transparently black. I don't know if those are showing up on there. Hand behind it maybe. Yeah, they're almost like a transparent black. They're really, really light. It might be a little bit because of the dyeing process, but it could also just be the deer itself. I'm just gonna do one brush out here. I can see some under fur in there. Just a bit. Stuff's a joy to work with compared to the Appalachian whitetail I was gonna use next. That stuff's got gobs of underfur in it. Must have been like right in the middle of winter when they harvested that one. Yeah, if you're tying these quick and dirty, there's no reason that you can't just bury all those butts in and not worry about cutting them off like I'm doing here. Okay, so we're gonna go right there. I've got a shank length, now we're gonna take that off. I'm gonna attempt to cut this up here so you guys don't have to keep jumping back and forth. Let's see how that goes. Oh, and it's going everywhere. Look at that. Okay, I might use my trash can next time. There. I like to trim this off, it just makes it a little bit cleaner. It really doesn't matter for this pattern, just personal preference. So again, we're going to take our thread base, I'm going to cut that in half, bring it back up on top, lightly around once, around the whole thing. I'm actually going to back that up just a bit, there we go. I want to crowd the head. And then the second wrap, that'll hold it in. And we're just going to go kind of medium light wraps all the way back. We'll torque this down once we get. I got one missing. That should do better. We're going to try and evenly wrap this back. Basically from this point where you can see the threads lined up with the barb there. From that point to where you want your tie off to be is really the most important point for how much tension you have on your thread. Because that will determine how much flare you have on your tail. I don't want a whole lot of flare, so we're going to do 3 light wraps. And that's all personal preference, how much you want your tail to flare. I like mine to flare about that much, so it's coming off about 20-30 degree angle. That'll give me a lot of movement in the water still provide the angle that I'm going to need for it to float, but not be too crazy. And then going back, we can tighten this up and just kind of cross hatch the previous wraps. Then once we're back up to the start here again, I'm just going to do 2 wraps, stop anything from moving around. That looks pretty good. That's a much better tail than that first one. Happy with that. From personal preference, I go a little bit more on the heavier side than super light because these do just completely get chewed up. So even though you start with a nice big tail like that, after 3 or 4 fish, you're probably gonna have half of that tail left because the trout teeth will just chew this up like candy. That's kind of the point. And there's no real good way to secure it without creating a completely different fly. And it just works. I mean, it's a standard in anyone that dry fly fishes box up here. And I'm just gonna bury those in. That's pretty much what our body's gonna look like underneath with the black wraps. That's a traditional segmented body like that. Again, not my personal preference. Here we get Sasha C. Thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. Yeah, if anyone's enjoying, nice relaxing fly tying session. Feel free to tap the screen, get some likes going. You can share it if you know people that you think might like the same thing. Or subscribe like Sasha did. That's great. Alright, so we're going to go with the same, try and get the same amount here. I'm breaking one of my rules just to play with this strip a bit, but normally what I'd be doing is going clean across like a typewriter, back and forth, getting bits out, and I'm going a little bit up the side here, just because I just want to see if there's any difference in the fur going along, but everything seems good, so now we're going to switch to going across the front. When you're cutting it off, you want to try and cut it as close to the hide as you can. Not only will that give you, don't drop it on the floor. There we go. Not only will that give you less waste, but it'll cut the under fur fibers and make them a little easier to release. If you're cut halfway up, stuff's floating and sticking everywhere. There we go. If you cut halfway up, you cut more of the under fur in half, and it kind of gets trapped in there. It can make it a little bit more of a pain. Cutting it right at the base allows you to get it out in one manageable clump. This is beautiful, absolutely beautiful hair though. So it's not really, other than being really staticky, it's not causing me much trouble. And we're just going to pack it like a snowball. I'll get everything lined up and we'll put her back in our stacker. I've had this brass stacker for decades now, I guess. This is your regular old made in India brass stacker. If you don't have one of these, chapstick works good if you're doing small amounts, like a chapstick container. 410 shell, I've used that for years too. That works just fine. Only thing if you're using old shells is clean them out good. The residue can be a little bit on the caustic side and eat some of your fur, so it can be a little sticky. So yeah, just a little Dawn dish soap or something, clean them out nice. Or if you got a tumbler, you can tumble them. Just leave the primer in so you don't have a hole in the bottom. Obviously spent primer. Yeah, these are really, look at that static. Beautiful ends. Okay, we're just gonna stack this like a snowball. Just moving our way back so we don't get too much more sag built up. We want to have this the length of the tail. Switch fingers, and we're going to go right to the tie-in point and pin it. We're going to move it back from that tie-in point half the body, pin it again, and that's our cutoff point. Again, you can play with that measurement, depends on the size of the hook you got. The smaller ones you're going to need a little bit more than the bigger ones because you got a little bit less wiggle room with the bend. So yeah, if you're doing some size 12s or... Oh, we just got a big guff of wind there, and my got an umbrella set up for my shade my chickens, and it decided to flip up on me. It's okay. Looks like it's stuck there, so I don't think it's going anywhere. Okay, and we're just gonna move that ahead a little bit to get our tie and point in. Now get that again. Get our thread in about halfway. And we're just wrapping the thread on the first wrap. And then the second wrap is gonna collect the top part. And down we go. Oh, sorry guys, I am mucking this up already. 1 second. We aren't tying it in at the full body length. Had my brain set on a humpy. There we go. We're gonna bring this back 3 or 4, like between the point and the barb there. Just gonna cut this again, just clean it up. And same thing, we're just going to tie it in at that point instead. Halfway. Underneath, and then all the way around. We can tighten it down here. We're just going to go back to our fold point, which will be just after the barb there. I probably got some loose because I was mucking with it so much. So one thing with deer hair, it's kind of a set and forget. You need to keep your hold on it while you're tying. You don't want to be letting go more than you really have to. Like, even letting go there is not really the best idea in the world. But I'm gonna bind these guys down. When you're binding them down, you want to do them in little chunks like that, and you're kind of cutting through them. You're not really trying to get them flat, but when you do it in that manner from there back, you're binding them in chunks, and it stops them from pulling out. If you do just a whole bind on it, the middle ones aren't actually bound, and they'll just slide out. So you're doing them in little bits like that. After they stand up, they won't go anywhere. Again, since we're pulling this forward, oh, I wasn't really paying attention to the base there. Let me see. No, let me redo that. Got a little bit more thread there than I would like. There we go. Right, I'm tying with the black thread, so I would want to keep that a little more open, but it's still segmented and you still see a little hair through. But again, that's the ugly nature of this version. Or unfortunate nature, I should say. It's not ugly. Yeah, the less you can hand off deer hair as a material, the better your ties are going to look. It's an unfortunate truth. It's one of those things where you really want to adjust it and, play with it and make it look good, but static and tension are not your friend. almost always works out better if you just trust your gut, tie it in there, go with it. Just doing 3 more wraps there to hold it. Place it up, get our under wraps on there. 5, 6, 7, 8, somewhere in there. That'll give us that nice hump again. You can see the underside is black, that's what we're looking for. That would be your traditional humpy, or not humpy, tom thumb. The very original ones that originated in along the west coast to the south in the States, they would have a collar of grizzly hackle on them as well. But it's completely unnecessary with this because they float. You're definitely not gonna be sinking this. A couple standing out there. Did I break them? Looks like I did. There, let's just get rid of those guys. Beauty. Kinda looks like a fuzzy pine cone. Again, I'm just going to build that head up. So we got a nice thread dam in the front. I want it kind of a conical shape. Right up to the deer hair. And that'll help hold it up. Yeah, floats like a cork. Hey Ron, good to see you, mate. So I couldn't stay on your live there earlier, but I was watching you put the jigs there for a bit. I've always liked the white and the red that you were doing up. I always thought it was such a nice color pattern. It's like red and orange too is another. Again, there's the one little hair that just wants to be bound down for some reason. Oh, whip finisher, behave. There we go. Okay. That's your traditional tom thumb tied with the black thread with the black belly. Another method you can use to mitigate that a bit is when you're tying in your, if your hair is long enough, you can basically do a double back, tie it in the full length. I see lots of people do that too. Really, at that point, you may as well just throw some dubbing on there and dub a little light body to cover everything. But for whatever reason, they like it like that. I don't know why. Could just imitate segmentations and darker underbody. Yeah, it's like a fuzzy pine cone. Freaking deadly though. Deadly pine cone. Forbidden pine cone. Yeah, unfortunately there's no way you can really rib it or anything to keep its integrity longer, because you'll lose the hump shape, which is again supposed to represent not only the wings but the wing case when they emerge like that. And it just moves a lot of water. Super simple pattern. I mean, if you're learning next to, there are a little more intricacies with this one. Just with working with deer hair is a little bit harder than say like a woolly bugger. But yeah, if you're a new tire, definitely something awesome to throw in your box. I'd recommend just a couple different sizes down to, if you're a new tire, you probably don't want to go down to below 12, but 12 to 10 would be fine. Just gonna spin this for a minute here and get some till that dries up. Oh, I was gonna ask you about that. Yeah, how would that go? Did you get that done today, or was that yesterday? And here's the two beside each other so you guys can see the difference. There's your brown, which again is my preference. Here's the black with the underside. See if I can do this so you can see the underside of that one. And to me, I don't know, it's just a cleaner fly with the brown thread, or if you do a real light body on it. Seems to make absolutely no difference to the fish, though. They don't care. There they are. But speaking of which, why don't we do one with a light body here? See how that goes. I'm gonna make this one with a much lighter tail. Yeah, I don't think there's much reason to go down to 14 really on these. Like the point of the fly is to imitate a larger, emerging caddis or sedge or what have you. So, but the smaller ones do work really good for say creek fishing and stuff. I've had lots of luck on little size 12s for creeks and whatever if you're going after little brook trout. So in this case, we're going to switch back to the. Let's move that up just a hair. We're going to switch back to the camel brown 6/0 uni. And I'm going to make the tail a good bit sparser on this one. And we'll do a wool wrap body on it too. And for the wool, I'm just going to use this dark olive wool that I have. It matches that brown leg. almost smack on perfect, so this will be great. That's nice and thin. Just gonna be enough to give a nice coverage on the body, I think. Seeing the color match and it's like, gotta try that. So we're gonna do up 1 or 2 of those. That way, if you don't catch anything, at least your flies look good in your box. Hey, congrats on the salmon there, man. 7 king, 1 coho, thundersticks. Yeah. That's cool. Me and my amazing, wonderful wife just went to the salmon run. I did attempted to do a couple live streams there, but the signal was so poor it didn't turn out as well as I'd like it to, but we had a good time. The one thing that was interesting and a little bit concerning is the main run river, which is Adams River, didn't have a single fish in it, not one. We were looking for, maybe a good 2 hours, maybe, and we didn't see a single fish. And it was just like, at first I thought they might have had a fish weir set up down at the mouth of the river, but we walked the whole river down, didn't see any weir or anything, and there was gobs of salmon jumping at the mouth of the river. Didn't see any dead ones, nothing. It was really weird. And then we went over to Scotch Creek, which is only, not far, a couple kilometers away from the Adams River. And it was not chock full, but I mean, there was a fish every like 3 or 4 feet, so it was just a little bit weird. I know that they do have different running times, but you generally see a handful. So hopefully that's not a bad sign that that run didn't fare well. 'Cause that's one of our major runs there. They get like 40-50,000 on a bad year run up there, so hopefully that's not the case. We'll find out. We'll go back there in a few weeks and see if it's better. But I did get some really cool footage. I don't know if you guys saw my short there, the salmon. I got some underwater footage with male and female spawning in a red there. That was really cool. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever had the privilege to film. So yeah, if you haven't checked that out, check out that short. It's really cool. I gotta edit up a few more like that. I sat there for a good hour just kind of watching them. We're just gonna tap that down, sort it out. So this is gonna be substantially thinner tail. If you're buying these in the shop, this is probably about the size and thickness of a tail you're gonna find in the store varieties. Mostly because I think it's, save on material cost, right? But I do find that a slightly oversized tail, like I was saying, works better because fish will tear it all up. This stuff's gonna be just primo for just some spinning here. Need to get into doing that. It's got just the right kind of elasticy consistency, and it flares real nice. So I think this will make some great sculpin heads, and you can even do up some bigger bass bugs. It'll be fun. Okay, so again, we're just going to push this forward a hair, just to get our first tie-in point. We're going to cut that in half with our thread. 1 second. Just gonna spin the twist out. Try that again. Again, the reason that we're cutting it in half like that is it's gonna bind just the hair. And not spin it nearly as bad. That's the point where I want to be more careful. Right from the just want these ones to be loose. Go back. I'll see if I can get those a little looser. That flared a little more than I wanted it. One thing I've done in the past too is actually used bucktail for the tail, so it doesn't flare quite as much. If you have really poofy whitetail, you use it for the body, that's definitely an option for you. Cool. Alright. Wrap that back in. Now we're going to be doing that body on this one, so I'm going to give this guy a little haircut and then we'll get that body tied in. We just want to get rid of the, without cutting our thread. Just want to get rid of the major standouts because we're going to bury them with that wool anyway. We just don't want anything sticking out. It's going to be kind of longer than our wool strands are going to have the ability to bury for us. That's much better. That'll do. Okay. Let's get a nice clean cut on this wool. Yeah, check that short out, Ryan. It's honestly one of the coolest things I've ever had the pleasure to film. Even if, of course, because it's something I'm proud of, YouTube didn't feed it out as well as it probably should have. And yeah, I think I got like 4 out of 10 on my feed, but you know, that's the way things work, right? But yeah, personally super proud of it. Just checking up on chat there, sorry guys. Okay, I just want to be careful not to put too much tension on the body material so we don't change the way our tail's sitting. We're just going to bring that right up. That'll give us a real nice clean body underneath. And this would be my preferred method to tie it. Or if you don't have a nice, like this wool is just bang on. I love this stuff. It's perfect. If you don't have some nice wool, you know, any dubbing you got's fine. Just do a real thin dubbing noodle, wrap it around. Then your thread wraps will sink into that. Although it's completely unnecessary, I think it just makes a real nice, clean finished fly on the bottom. Get the segmentations there. Fish probably aren't going to care, but if you can improve on a pattern, why not? And it's not like we're adding like an articulated body or anything crazy, it's just one extra step. But yeah, again, traditionally these were just quick and dirty flies, because they were just going to get beat up. Yeah, Spirit Fly I noticed was tying when I was setting this up, so I'm gonna miss his tying session. I don't think he's had one in a good while, but I do enjoy watching him. The guys are floating around. Check out his stream too. Tell him Nimby says hi. What's your name, Robert? Sorry, man, but my brain is so bad with names. For whatever reason, I thought your name was Ryan. At least I got the R part right. Apologize, names are not my strong suit. Okay, so we're gonna go full length, body of the tail, pinch, transfer. Gonna get our new tie off point, pinch again, bring it halfway down the body, pinch again, and then that's gonna be your cutoff point. I think I'm gonna give up the fight with the deer hair and just sweep after. Okay, then we're just gonna lightly spiral our thread back. That's one of the reasons I tied the body in that direction, so that the thread wraps won't, two wraps to secure it there, so the thread wraps won't still give us that segmentation there and bury into the wool. There's always one little hair strand that just wants to be a bugger. There we go. Let go there, which was a risky move, but it seemed to work. Now that we got it in, we're just gonna feed this back, adding a little bit more tension each time, and then we're gonna go through our tie off here, all the spiky stuff. We're gonna go through it as we tie down, and that'll keep it together. So like that. And then tension, through some more, tension, through some more, tension. That'll bind it down so it's not going to go anywhere. Once you do that, you can go back if you want and try and bind some of it in. Tell there's more on your guys' side there. I'm not getting. Let's flip this up. There, we'll spin this all the way back up to your tying point. And I'm just going to clean that up a little bit here. And again, the other preference would be to just tie it in full body length on the underside. The only thing really limiting you there is going to be your the deer hair you're tying with, how long it is. If it's not long enough, then this method will work for you. If you got some really long stuff, or you're tying smaller ones, either one's fine. All the tail fibers out of there. And just pinning it back, and we'll start that thread wall for the head here. Just combing it up a bit. At least Doug and Will's a bit of a difference. Yeah, that one stood up rather nice. I'm quite happy with that one. Generally what I'm looking for is if this is bent back, it should be right to where the tail point is. That'll give you all the movement you need out of the water. Having it that long too, if it does sit, it'll keep it kind of floating correctly, upright anyway, until it gets chewed up. Got one like really long one here. This must have came off the top. There we go. Let's get that one out of the way. Come on now. There we go. Okay, so there's a couple half hitches in there and some whip finishes. Yeah, that's one thing with your channel specifically, Robert. I haven't been able, like, it just doesn't show up in my feed. It's so frustrating. I have to actually like search the channel and go to it, and I don't catch up on stuff. A lot of times, if it's been a a good while, I don't comment because it's kind of past. But yeah, there's a handful of channels that it's just like it doesn't matter what I do. Sometimes I'll even unsubscribe and resubscribe, and then bell it and everything, and see if that makes a difference. But YouTube's been a strange animal that way for the last couple months. Crazy Life fishing's another one too. That like I don't get any. I used to get his feed all the time. I don't get anything anymore. It's rather frustrating. There we go. This is my preferred version of a Tom Thumb. So I would have just changed the wool body to match a lighter wool for your regular mule deer, whitetail deer. Yeah, to me, this it's just a little bit extra that you can just throw in there to make it a nice clean fly. I don't really see a reason not to. Although anyone that watches my channel is aware, I like to try to stay as traditional as I can with most patterns. This is one pattern that I fish often and has always bugged me, that it's just a bit on the ugly side and it doesn't have to be. Thanks, mate. Yeah, these are very interior BC fly for sure. It's one of those ugly and it works. Got a little loose of the fur wrap on the one side there, but that's not going to make any difference. After it gets wet and dries, it survives. It'll look the same. This is definitely more of a spinning hair. I mean, it's right on that edge of being able to do this kind of stuff with, but you can tell it's incredibly soft and poofy. Which isn't a bad thing. These things will flirt like corks, but it just makes it a little harder to tie with. Oh, actually, I'm going to give it just another minute longer here. Not quite a minute, but... That's true. The trout will adjust it how it sees fit. Nice thing is they cast well. They're if you got a clear water-filled bobber, they actually work really good for just spinning rod. You can huck them out there. For these, I just fill the bobber, say half full with water, so you still got an air bubble in it. And then you got the weight, and you can just whoop, cast out there, which works great for creeks or any place where you got like no back room if you're not planning on doing like roll casts all day. That's very true. Let's go with, I'm gonna do like a traditional one here. We'll switch away from this Primo strip, go back to the black. I'll just go with some Appalachia whitetail that I got. And the black thread. And you can see the difference. The whitetail is nice because it's such a light color that it definitely, I think, stands out on the water surface. Yeah, there's the type of, get in there. For the deer hair strip, I'm gonna put that one away for now. Yeah, look at that, it's just absolutely gorgeous, lovely deer strip. What were you using when you were fishing out for your salmon there the other day? Was it yesterday? Remember you commenting on it. Yeah, we are our worst critics, but it's also how we get better. The same token. So this one's going to be Appalachia whitetail. It's a little different than our whitetail. It's got these nice kind of white, light tan tips to it. Ours generally have like a black tan. It's Magpie Materials. Unfortunately, with the tariffs and stuff, I can't get much from him right now. But he has really good quality, great quality stuff. I want to say Jason, I could be wrong. Again, names aren't my strong point. Since we're going with the traditional and not, I know this stuff has a gob of underfur in it, so we're going to go a little bit thicker. Basically about the shank, or the gap width. also isn't as long, so I might have to adjust my pivot too, but we'll see how it goes. But you can see when I clean this guy out, the amount of underfur. Compared to the other one. There's going to be a few poles like that until we get it clean. And with this stuff, I typically have to clean it one more time after I stack it, because all the fine hair seems to fall to the bottom of the stacker as well. And just in general, it doesn't stack quite as nice as the other. All the points are there, but you can see the fuzz on the end that always seems to accumulate with this batch. Which won't matter too much for the tail, but I'm just going to have to keep that in mind. It's beautiful Appalachian whitetail, don't get me wrong. It's just a little exercise in patience to clean out all the underfur. There we go. Okay, then we're gonna go shank length, bring it over. That'll be our tying point. I didn't bring my thread up, but I will in a sec here. Yeah, if you're playing with deer, you kind of just gotta give up on having a clean tying space. Okay, I'm gonna tie this in full body length. Try and bury these down just a bit. There we go. And now we're just going to do some medium light wraps all the way back, segmenting it like that. Again, this wrap here is going to be my main one that's going to control how much I'm flaring the tail. So I want it to be fairly loose. There we go. Yeah, that looks good. Happy with that. Okay, so that's more traditional. You can see the bottom is crosshatched like that, which gives it the segmented look. That would be your traditional wrap. That one actually went really well. That's a pretty good example right there. Happy with that. And since we're running with the black thread, I'm just going to do a little more cleanup than I was on the other because I'm not going to bury this in a big black lump. Paying a little bit of attention not to cut my thread. Again, you don't want to get too close because then it doesn't bind in properly when you are trying to tie it in or what have you. So that amount's perfectly fine. Okay, well, we'll see if we can get this. I'm going to try and take some from, let's see. To me, it's looking like the hair length on this side is a little bit longer than, a little bit longer on this side than it is on this side. And the other thing with this patch too is you can see if I grab the tips here, you can see how much medium-sized hair is there, which wasn't in the other strip. So I'm actually going to be grabbing a little bit more because I know when I'm folding all that back, I'm going to be losing all those medium strands and only really keeping these long ones. So I'm going to be losing a good chunk. So we're going to go a bit thicker. After that's all brushed out. And that's exactly what I was talking about when we were starting out there, that you really got to learn your patch of hair that you're tying with, because they're all completely different. You can see the huge differences between this one and the other, and they're both really nice patches of deer as well. They're not cruddy. I'm going to try and get it, so I want to pinch it basically right in the middle, because anything smaller than that's not going to fold over for me anyway. And I want it to be gone. Out with you. Anything longer will hold together, but we're going to get rid of all of that. Wow, there's lots in there. You see how much we're losing? That's why I grabbed a little more than I did on the other one. So I know I'm going to be thinning this down substantially. See all these little light ones that we're pulling out. You do want to be careful and breaking some kind of unwritten rules here by using my fingers and pulling like that. What that's doing is every time I do that, it's positively charging the hair. The better thing to do is actually flick back and forth. That way you're not actually adding a charge in the hair, and it keeps your static level a little more friendly. Doing this like I'm doing right here, not a good habit to get into. And we're going to do a light cleaning on the front here, and then I'll try and stack that, and we'll see where we're sitting. And we'll just get rid of all the really short guys. So again, beautiful Appalachian whitetail. Gorgeous stuff, but it's got a ton of underfur in it. Which isn't a bad thing. I mean, you can use that for dubbing. Has its uses, for sure. And it makes the hair itself is nice and poofy. You know, it's that premium time of year when the fur is at its thickest. Tap this really good because I want those long fibers to bend all the way across. There we be. Okay, so now we got all those tips. Do one more cleaning here. You can still see, I'm not sure it's picking up on the camera, you can still see all the under fur. Yeah, there we go. If you're tying for yourself, I mean, the underfur is really not going to hurt anything on a pattern like this, other than making it a little more buggy looking. It will cause all sorts of problems if you're trying to spin the hair, but we're not doing that. It can be a little bit more annoying on the fold and packing part because it can hold it together or cause it to go left and right a little bit more cattywampus if there's a lot of underfur in there. But yeah, if you're just making these quick and dirty for yourself and you don't much care how they're looking, then yeah, just do a really quick cleanup. Underfurs really like this pattern. Okay, so we're going to try and match that right up there with the tail, so they're matched and aligned. I'm going to pin it in place. I'm going to pin our tie-off point and bring that back half a shank. Repin it again. That'll be a cut-off point right here. You can see most of the fibers that I'm going to be cutting are right on that point, so we got really lucky. It's probably the largest size I can kind of comfortably tie with this patch without having a lot of waste. I mean, I could just grab the longest hairs, but if we're going that route, then we're going to be, you know, wasting like 30-40% of it, which is really a shame when it's nice fur like this. Okay, so we're going to bring ourselves back here. I'm going to try and get into those same grooves, keep our segmentations. Now we're going to go just in between the two grooves that we made before where the tail was tied off. That'll stop it from spinning like it's trying to do. Looks like I didn't quite get that as tight as I probably should have, but we'll fix that right now. Again, we're going to get that halfway. Line that down. Over top the whole deal. I would like to get 2 wraps in there, but I only got 1. Go for another. And then we're going to medium wrap it forward, putting more and more tension. That'll flare them up. We're going to go in between the flares here, just for that portion. That'll lock them all in. They're not going to spin or go anywhere that way. Or a lot less chance of it anyway. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, now we're just going to clean that up. We don't want to bring it right down like you're shaving hair, but just want to stop it from getting too crazy. Feed this back through the segmentations back up front. A couple good wraps where our tie-off point's going to be. Losing a little bit there. I'm just going to pull out any that didn't get tied in. Looks like we got the vast majority of them, so that's good. Cool. Actually look like a pretty good tie-in. Get it here again. gonna do 2 medium wraps right at that tie-in point, leaving enough room on the head. I like to give it a little tug, just kind of straighten it out. Little spin. 3 more decent ones. That'll flare it a little bit. Now we're gonna lift it and do our front collar and our thread down. Build up that head and hold the wing up. Beauty. Yeah, tail spun on me just a bit there, but oh, looks like I got her. There's 1 or 2 fibers that are a little bit nuts there, but we'll fix them. There, I'm just gonna work up this black head here. This is just a fun pattern to try to make look pretty, because it's really not meant to. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a nice little punk rocker head, and it comes right back to where the tail starts, so that's a nice length. Happy with that. Gonna clean up a few of the broken hairs here in a second. Let's get some whip finishes on this guy. Have some nice tea. Two, 3, 4, 5. Color good. Now we'll clean up those couple. That would be your traditional color and everything. Tom Thumb for sure there. It's always fun to like style the little hairdos and stuff, eh? Yeah, the tail spun on me just a little bit there. I'll fix that. There's that cross-hatched body underneath. That's very classic to this pattern. Again, not my personal preference. And I think it's ugly. But it works and it catches fish. And it's easy. And sometimes simple and easy is good. But she got a nice little hump there. Top. kind of bang on perfect. I want it just to be just past the hump. The tail's a good size. Again, I like to have them just a little more bushy. You'd probably get them maybe half that, a little more than half if you're getting it from the fly store or a fly shop. But yeah, they get beat up super quick, so I always found that having it a little bit on the heavier sides just works better. A little more flotation, you get a few more fish out of it. Don't have any at hand, but I definitely have some in my box that are more thread than deer hair left. Yep, it's numbs. Like a little dog biscuit kibble. The forbidden fuzzy pine cone. It does kind of look like a sage bundle, doesn't it? Never really thought about that, but yeah, totally looks like a tied up sage bundle. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about like the process of tanning deer hide so the hair doesn't slip. I know it's a bit of a thing to learn, but chartreuse and pink. It seems to be just like a go-to color for salmon. Not so much for my area up here, but for anything kind of tidal where you're going, yeah, chartreuse, pink, those colors always hit. Thanks, mate. Leave it like that for a minute. Put a little extra dab of head cement on there, so I just want to make sure it cures okay. Almost out of tea. What is in this spice again? This is the Dyna King Barracuda. This one has an interesting jaw set. Here, I'll pop this guy out. He's probably dry enough now. You can see him with his other friends here. You can see the difference in color. That traditional whitetail really pops on the water. It makes it a little easier to see too, to be honest. Well, they're pretty consistent. I'm happy with those guys. But yeah, the Dynaking Vices, they have this multi-set jaw. You can see when it closes, you got those 2 holes in there. So if you got the right size hook, which this one isn't, because these are dry fly hooks, so they're a little bit on the thinner side. But you got the right size hook. This size in a traditional wire gauge would fit in there nice, and then it doesn't. You can see it's just loose, but if you have the right size one, it binds in there sweet and just doesn't move whatsoever. You can see since this wire is a little bit floppy. So if you're tying bigger stuff like salmon hooks, be the one on the back, and then when they lock in there like that, they're not going anywhere. They're really in there nice and solid, and it kind of holds them at a good angle. 90% of my tying is just done with the little micro jaws on the front there. Yeah, I try to, consistency brings a lot of personal pride for me. It's something I try to work on, always try and get a little better at. Really is more of a personal thing though. It's not going to make any difference for the fish. But, you know, the more you do, the more consistent you get. It's a good thing. But yeah, this is the Dynaking. It's a freaking tank. It weighs, it must be not quite 10 pounds, probably 7, something like that. It's one piece stainless steel and aluminum brace, machined. It's got nice heavy duty bearings and Teflon and brass. They retail for a little bit over 1,000 now. I got lucky on Facebook Marketplace and picked this one up for 40 bucks. So I can't complain. It'll probably last me my lifetime. And if anything, I might just have to replace the jaws. There's several types of different jaws I wouldn't actually mind getting, because I do tie such, they have like a micro jaw for it, and ones that are similar but just meant for smaller hooks, and I do a lot of tying on that. But yeah, if you're doing like a lot of streamer stuff or whatever, these back ones are just beauty. Like they'll grab a size 6 or something. I wonder if I got anything bigger close at hand. Those are 14s. Had some Togen's nymph hooks. Maybe they're in here. Where are you guys? There they are. Okay, so this is your standard, bog standard 3X nymph, size 8. Togen. Yeah, Togen's Fly Shop. Really good hook actually for the price. But I happen to just get these in another fly lot. But the wire on this is substantially thicker, so it'll go right into that little groove, and then it's like you know, I'll bend this in a loop before it budges on me at all. So if you're tying on hooks that are it's a little bit cattywampus there, straighten it. There we go. But yeah, there now you can see how perfectly centered that is. Like if you're tying the right size hook with those holes, you know, it's money. Like look how that is just perfectly lined up. So yeah, it's a joy that way if you're tying size 8 and up. those work awesome. But for little dry fly stuff and whatnot, you got to use the very, very tip of it, and that works fine too. But I tied on a non-rotary vise for most of my tying. Was on a non-rotary. This is my first true rotary. I had a partial rotary. That was my father-in-law's. I was tying on for a while. It's some of my earlier videos. You can see me using that one. Yeah, I'm gonna call it for a bit here, get some foods and snacks and stuff. It's been 2 hours, and I'll take a break and probably come back later tonight or tomorrow and do up some more here. My next one, what are we doing? Yellow body grayback. So it's a very similar fly. They just throw a yellow body and then some hackle on it. From the same kind of time period, 50s, 60s. We'll be doing those up next. Or I might even do some more thumbs because I could use a lot more tom thumbs. But yeah, it's a great vise. I thoroughly enjoy it. I just would never pay, the price of a car for a fly tying vise. It's excessive. But yeah, it's definitely, it's solid. I could stand on this thing and it's not going to go anywhere. If you're tying more, like I said, saltwater streamers, articulated flies, you're doing a lot of like heavy stuff like that, definitely good advice for that kind of stuff if you're doing saltwater. There's a specific variation of this that's, trying to remember the name now. I want to say Doctor something. That's pretty much the same thing. It has a detent feature where it'll actually lock in on 45 angles, so that you can, for when you're doing your articulated flies, you can get them exactly precise. But that's 90, that's 45. It's not terribly hard to do it yourself. There's a few other features for larger flies on it. Again, great vise, not so great on the price, but they're all handmade in America, so America, you get what you pay for. Okay, well, I'll call that good. Hey, you guys have a good night. Thanks for hanging out. We'll do up some more later. I appreciate everyone dropping likes and subscribes that we got. It's always great. Thanks, guys, and we'll